Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be talking about some theories for the Dark Castle, although I'm going to be honest with you besties. Even though we have quite a lot of screenshots for this one, in comparison to Reckless Driver anyway, I am honestly very confused about the episode, but I think that's only because it's time travel. I'm not the best at predicting the time travel episodes because at any point they could just go back in the burrow and do something else. So whilst I'm going to try my best, I'm not 100% confident, but let's do it anyway. So let's start with what we know for sure and reread the synopsis. To allow Alex to celebrate her birthday with her friends and family, Marinette gets the rabbit Miraculous back and becomes the keeper of time for a few hours. So fairly straightforward, it's Alex's birthday, she's spent around 4 months away from her family, roughly since evolution, so she obviously wants to come home for her birthday, absolutely fair enough, so someone needs to keep an eye on things, so Marinette takes over. And I know she's the Guardian, and I love her very much, but if I was Alex, I would have asked Alia. Anyway, I think the episode starts with Jaleel going to the school to talk to Alex's friends about his sister and how he's feeling. As we can see from the end card and this Polaroid of them, as well as from Reunion, Jaleel loves his sister a lot, and it's clear he really misses her. Although why Jaleel is telling Alex's friends this and not his dad, I'm unsure. Bunnick sees all of this through the burrow, so she's like, you know what? It's time to go home just for a little bit, and she pays Marinette a visit in her room, and the two girls swap places, and the party at Place des Vosges starts. So it seems the majority of the cast of the children is there, of course with the exception of Marinette and also Felix, but that's another surprise. So that's everything we know for certain, so let's get into speculating. And I basically think a big theme for this episode is that Marinette in the burrow, who should be keeping an eye on time, keeps getting distracted by present-day Paris. As we see, she tries to kiss Adrian, which, as I've already said in another video, consent, and second of all, he doesn't know who you are. I know, yes, you are his girlfriend, but to him, Marinette's his girlfriend, not whatever this fusion's going to be called. And if you just reach out and kiss him and he can't see you, doesn't know who you are, you just disappear immediately, he's going to be quite rightly freaked out. However, I don't think it actually happens either because he moves or because something happens in the burrow and she has to go back. And I get it must be hard doing a job when you can literally see all your friends having fun, but that's why Alex wanted to come home just for a few hours, And I think Marinette may be the cause of what starts all the problems, which seems to be Jaleel getting a cake to the face. So like I said, Marinette still wants to be at this party while doing this job, using the burrow portals to move around, and part of going to a party is eating whatever food they have. So I think maybe she'll also try some of the food, and she ends up leaving this, presumably chocolate mousse or some other kind of chocolate-based dessert, on the ground. So when Mark and Nathaniel bring out this amazing cake, which I very much want to eat, Nathaniel steps in the chocolate mousse, and the cake takes the first flight out of Charles de Gaulle straight into Jaleel's face. And I feel that this point in the episode is where it's going to take a Cat Blanc-like turn. So by that, I basically mean that Marinette's actions in this episode, like in Cat Blanc, set off a very bad series of events. Definitely, in my opinion, not as catastrophic as Cat Blanc events, definitely not world-ending, but still very bad. So, for example, there's this airship, and as we saw in Ephemeral, messing around with time can, mess up the timelines and stuff like that. So perhaps that's why it's there. Honestly, the airship is really throwing me. So Marinette, who has somehow resisted the temptation to use the burrow to find out who the new Hawkmoth is or see what happens between her and Adrian in the future, she sees that something bad is happening, which is the Dark Castle, and she rewinds to see what went wrong, and in this episode she'll try to make it right. Now, as you can see in the end card, I think pretty much the cake is the catalyst for it, because as you can see in the end card, Mark and Nathaniel are holding an intact cake. So whatever happens, I think the cake is the start of the things going wrong. And the whole time I honestly have assumed that Jaleel was getting akumatized after getting a cake to the face, but honestly he doesn't look that upset, and Jaleel, I am very sorry because actually I don't think it's you anymore. I'm pretty sure it's Mr. D'Argencourt. So this is a knight from the Dark Castle on the left, and on the right is one from Darkblade from season 1. And if we focus on the knight in front from the Dark Castle, you can see they're pretty similar, and I would assume the differences are due to the new models for the new animation. But both knights have feathers on their helmets, they have butterfly wings on their visors, and they have dragons on their chest. So I'm pretty sure this is to do with Mr. D'Argencourt rather than Jaleel. However, Mr. D'Argencourt is possibly in the park, maybe that's why he's akumatized. I don't know, really, to be honest. It seems like it's definitely related, but I am a little bit confused about it. He only really seems to get annoyed about not being the mayor. So I'd assume it's that. But to be honest, he is a bit of a strange man. Maybe he's at least in the park and he gets caught in the cake crossfire, which causes his Akuma, and maybe he takes all the kids prisoner inside the Louvre, or turns them into knights, or takes them prisoner inside the Dark Castle. Honestly, I'm a little bit unsure since we don't even see him in any of the trailers so far. And on the note of the Louvre, you can see the knights dismantling it, and the Dark Castle looks like it's made up of different buildings. So maybe they're either trying to use the Louvre to make the castle even bigger, or perhaps since the interior of the Louvre is largely underground, like you go in on ground floor level and then you go down into the reception area, I believe. I've never actually been there. I've been to Paris, never been to the Louvre. Art galleries aren't really my thing. So perhaps Mr. d'Argencourt wants something inside and Miss Bustier said no. As we know from the Darkblade, he's meant to have like a massive like lineage of Parisian ancestors, so maybe there's like some kind of piece of artwork or like artifact inside that like belongs to his family. Miss Bustier says no and he gets akumatized, and it just happens to be on the day of Alex's birthday and it's completely unrelated to the kids. And he wants to get it, but now as a massive weird castle he can't reach in and grab it, so the knights have to basically dismantle the pyramid on top so he can reach underground and get whatever it is he wants. So at this point I am a little bit confused because we see Ladybug in what I would presume is the near future during the Akuma, and she looks very confused, looked like she's just woken up actually. So did Marinette manage to at least get Alex back in the burrow to help her? But as far as we're aware, leaving the burrow, whether you're going back in time or to the future, I don't think it makes you tired, so I'm a little bit confused. Like, Cat Noir looks like he knows what's going on. Ladybug is like, I'm sorry, I just woke up, you're gonna have to explain. However, it seems like the other kids are gone, but I do think Alex is still helping, like, as we've seen this season so far. Whilst Marinette and Adrien are still the main characters, the other kids are like getting an episode of focus. So for example, Sabrina's was in Daddy Cop, Ivan's was in El Toro de Piedra, so this episode will be Alex's episode to save the day, and maybe she's directing Ladybug and Cat Noir, telling them what to do. I still don't know though why Ladybug is confused when she like wakes up by the Dark Castle, but I think maybe instead of fighting the Dark Castle right away, they head into the Louvre since the interior is mainly underground, so they'd be more safe, but of course inside there are more knights that they have to fight off. I'd assume the knights as well could turn Ladybug and Cat Noir into one of them. But inside the Louvre they see something rather horrifying, judging by their facial expressions. Part of me was like, oh, maybe if Mr. d'Argencourt does want something inside the Louvre, they found it. But unless he wanted something really weird, I don't think that was it. I don't know, maybe he's like destroying the Louvre from the outside, really not sure. As you can tell, I am very confused, and like I said, I think it's just because it's time travel. I find it personally much harder to predict compared to an episode that's more linear, like Sleeping Siren and Mr. Aggress predictions. I wasn't completely correct, but like, I was more than halfway there. Other than the opening of this episode, I have absolutely zero confidence if I'm correct. And another thing I'm also confused about is Marinette. So as we can see in the end card, she has two different Bunny Miraculous outfits. We have one that's just her with the Bunny Miraculous, and the one that is a Bunny and Ladybug fusion. When does she just have the Bunny Miraculous? What happens to Ladybug Miraculous? Does she still have it in? Does she not transform with it? I am confusion. Anyway, it seems by the end of the episode they get things sorted, like maybe Mr. d'Argencourt had just come away from a terrible meeting with Miss Bustier about whatever's in the Louvre from one of his family, and then he's walking by the park, he gets spotted with cake, and he's like, this is just the final straw, because like I said in the end card, the cake is still intact, so it seems like the cake was possibly the catalyst for this episode. But this time Marinette stays in the burrow and watches everything and makes sure it all goes okay, and doesn't join in the party, and that night she goes to bed like, yeah, it was difficult because of me, but we sorted it in the end. Anyway, besties, that's what I think, even though I'm very confused. Let us know what you think of this. I will see you in the next one.